What's going on, everyone? Nick or Catalyst here. Thank you for tuning into the video. So about a month ago in a video I said there was some stuff going on with me and my team in terms of the tournament that we were in, and I couldn't talk about it back then. But now that the tournament is over for Wham, we lost last night, and now since it's over, I can talk about everything without having to hold back or mince words, which I know that sounds negative, but trust me, most of it's not. There are a lot of good things to say, but there are also some pretty bad things to say. I know a lot of Tier 1 players are subscribed to me, so in case you were ever wondering what happened to Wham in the middle of the tournament, well, now everyone gets to know the truth to everything. So in a way, this is addressed to the teams in Tier 1, and I'm not sure yet, but I might send the video to those teams in Tier 1 so they understand everything. And this is also addressed to those of you who have watched the games that we've been a part of and that have supported us, and to those people that also may be out of the loop. And I guess the rest of you, at the very least, this might be an entertaining story, so if you like the video, drop a like on it and grab some popcorn, and I hope you enjoy. We would first of all like to thank Ender and the rest of Tier 1 for allowing us to compete in the tournament. Since joining, we have formed friendships with new platoons, as well as strengthened our own friendships inside Wham due to the competitive nature that we found ourselves in, and we felt like we truly found a home in Tier 1 where we could respectfully compete against other high-tier platoons, and we have done so throughout the tournament. So in that sense, we are very happy and proud to have been a part of the tournament. Unfortunately, there were certain circumstances that had unfolded that I'll get into shortly, but before all of that, I guess I'll start at the beginning. When I joined Wham, we were undefeated in all competitive outings that we had tried. I think prior to me joining, we were like 9-0 or something like that, and one of the first things that I did as a part of Wham is I took part in a 5v5 dom with our good friends at SB, and we won that match, and that was really my first experience with any competitive in Battlefield 1, and it was a lot of fun, and it really kickstarted my love for competitive, as well as it really solidified my position in Wham at the time. Playing against SB really made me want to improve and get better, and I credit that match specifically that we played as really the catalyst to me becoming the player that I am today. Like, today's catalyst would absolutely demolish the catalyst from 4 or 5 months ago, and it was really a revolution of things because I went from being a sniper main with deadly accuracy for a console player to a slaying assault role in the current meta of competitive, and that's like a complete 180, and I think I'm up there with some of the best now. So from that SB match, we played another 5v5 dom against our good friends in Vicious Shooters, and we won that as well. And the next team we played was a team by the name of Murder Mafia, and that was the first Tier 1 team that we came across. We ended up winning that match with little to no frontlines experience at all, and we were running around with chickens like with our heads cut off, frankly. We played a few other frontlines matches against a couple of other teams. Rise Nation was one of them. Their tanker, stat-wise, is one of the best in the world. Blue Devils was another team that we faced, and they ended up being a team that came into the tournament with us but pulled out early due to some in-house stuff. But then we faced 6 Star Generals for the first time, and if you play Battlefield at all, chances are you've seen or heard of 6 Star. They have like 300 people across 3 platoons on PlayStation 4, but this was their quote-unquote Savage Squad, which was their competitive team. We went in thinking we were going to win, and we got absolutely embarrassed, and it was a hard loss for us. A lot of denial was in the air. Oh, they use automaticos. Oh, they use gas and shotguns. They suck, and more excuses. And I'm not afraid to admit that. We got our asses whooped, and it was definitely a reality check for us. Murder Mafia was kind of the gateway into a whole new side of competitive with Tier 1, and 60s was the brick wall that we crashed into. But we made a decision right then and there that we weren't going to sulk about the loss. We were going to get better, and the following about a month and a half or so was absolute hell for us competitively. We faced off against PT, which at the time was one of the best, if not the best team in North America, and they destroyed us as well. We played other teams like EN and TSL for the first time. We were able to beat EN, but it was a tight game, and TSL was a draw the very first time. But apart from that, we got destroyed in almost every single competitive outing. There was a period of time where I think we played 6 Star Generals 4 nights in a row trying to get better, and we lost almost every single match. But we were able eventually to get a map off of them, and that was really honestly such a good feeling. It's like if we were playing Dark Souls or something and we got stuck on a boss that we finally beat. So at the time we entered into the tournament, and we kept practicing and practicing, trying to get better. Like, I can't tell you how much game film I watched trying to get better. So we entered into the tournament and we beat our first 3 opponents pretty handedly. Like, it's clear that we've made some progress. And then we play a team called VVV, or Veni Vidi Vici. And here's where stuff hits the fan and things don't get too nice. We played VVV and we beat them. The next day we get a message from a coordinator saying we are disqualified for using ringers. And if you don't know what a ringer is, a ringer in the competitive sense is a player that is called in, hence the term ringer, to play for a team even though he is not truly part of your platoon. And of course, when we heard this, we were pissed off and confused as all hell because we followed all of the rules and we made sure to be completely transparent with Tier 1, and we still got banned. And now I'm going to transfer more into an official tone and basically read off a statement about what happened to us. And this was never released, but it's the statement that we would have given if we did not get let back into the tournament. And past the introduction and all that, it begins with this. Quote, "We would like to clear up these accusations for you all, since you are all hardly getting the truth. This is mainly due to one player, Muffin Man. Muffin Man is part of SB, who, as you all know, are our friends, and are a pub-stomping non-competitive platoon, one that is so closely tied with WHAM that there have actually been talks of merging the 2 platoons together. We signed him up before the HDO registration deadline in hopes that he could play for us. We also have a few players from another closely tied clan, Evil, who are also not competitive. These players include Catfish, Noob, Intrinsic, and Black Eagle. We found out right before the tournament began that Muffin was playing for another competitive team in another competitive league, and thus, in accordance with the rules, it prohibited from playing in the league, and he did not play in the games against Cure, Triple X, and Regime. The day of the Triple X match, we received word that Muffin had decided to leave the other league so he could join and play with Wayne permanently in all of our games. And upon figuring this out, Catalyst, which is obviously myself, and Tito both reached out to Ender, who is the creator and founder of Tier 1, to discuss the conditions in which Muffin could play, documenting that he did play for another league, but now he was going to play with us permanently. And this point was doubled and triple checked by both Tito and myself to ensure that WHAM did not break any rules, and to make sure that WHAM was not only 100% transparent, but also willing to cooperate if things change. And it was mutually agreed that if the situation did change with Muffin Man, that we would disqualify him from playing with us and remove him from the roster. And in addition to this, we had him sit out a match as goodwill as is required by the tournament. And prior to this, we were actually questioned twice by Ender as to whether or not we used ringers, to which we replied that we did not and never knowingly will. And this could be misunderstood because we have never ever seen Muffin as a ringer, but as a friend first and foremost. But that being besides the point, we made sure that he wasn't ringing when we considered him for the roster. Although it's not known who the first questioner was of this, the second time it was Pete Dog and the guys at Triple V. It was an honest inquiry at this point, and there was no resentment between the 2 platoons. The day of our match with Triple V, which was the 7th of February, Pete Dog posted in the Tier 1 Discord chat about a loophole in the Tier 1 rulebook, and if any teams wanted to admit that they were in violation of this rule by using ringers. Knowing what we had known prior to this post, including the knowledge that Pete Dog had inquired about us before, there was no doubt in our minds that this was passively aggressively aimed at us, and they were trying to draw some sort of confession out of us before we played. This was noted, but instead of making a public argument, we decided to let our play speak for ourselves. We faced Triple V that night, and we won 2-0. And it should be noted that Muffin Man did play in this match, for he had served his required 1-game absence. The following night, Tito received a message from a coordinator that we had been removed from contention in the tournament, and although we are disqualified from it, we are welcome to stay in Tier 1. The reason for this disqualification was that we allowed Muffin to play with us, and he was decided by the committee of which Tier 1 is run by to be a ringer. An investigation was launched right after our match with VVV, when 10 of their players told their leader that they thought Muffin was a ringer, and through an intensive search, they found that Muffin was still on the roster of a team in another league. Upon inquiring Muffin, he said that he had forgotten to officially leave the team roster page, although he had notified the ZDiv team, which is the team that he was on in another league, that he was indeed leaving. On another note, the current situation with Muffin Man, or I guess it's not current anymore, but it was similar to that of a player called Jaybird, who used to play for 6-Star General, but now plays for Triple V. Jaybird played against us in the match with Triple V, and we were surprised that he was playing with them because he was a 6-Star General no more than 2 weeks before that. We asked Muhammad, who was one of the leaders at 6-Star, and he said that Jaybird indeed left 6-Star and was now playing with Triple V. However, we looked at CCG's Battlefy roster, and we still found Jaybird on that roster. So it was legitimately the same situation, if not give or take some discrepancies, and it has been confirmed by both parties that Jaybird is now a member of Triple V despite him being on the 6-star Battlefied roster. But that's just like it was confirmed by multiple parties on our end that Muffin left his leagues to play permanently for us, yet he had forgotten to remove himself from the roster just like Jaybird must have. The only difference is that Jaybird left 6Gs just before the season began, and therefore he didn't play any games with 6-star during the tournament. Now, it was later found out that Muffin Man actually did play an extra game with ZDiv when he wasn't supposed to, and in that sense, it was a breaking of the rules, and we do understand this, and we, in that sense, know that we did something wrong, and we accepted the penalties for it. Of course, things changed, and after much deliberating, Wham was let back into Tier 1 under the conditions that Muffin would not be allowed to play. We at Wham respect all competitors in Tier 1 and have found great love for competing here. However, we felt severely plotted against by Triple V. It is very suspicious to us that Pete Dog and Triple V initiated the inquiry before the tournament officially began, then proceeded to publicly mock us and hint that we were using ringers on multiple occasions before our match, and finally, after we beat them, an investigation was called no more than maybe 2 or 3 hours after it, and as the investigation had proven, digging was done far enough to find that Muffin Man not only was on the roster, but he also played a game that he wasn't supposed to, and we didn't even know about it. One of the solutions that was suggested was that we force our players to rep Wham and only Wham, and it's talking about the evil players and SB that wanted to play with us, and we understand the implications that may make us look guilty on this, but having to lose Muffin first of all, and then having to force our friends to rep Wham basically admits that we've done something wrong, and we didn't intentionally do so. So we were a little irritated that we would have to overhaul our roster and force our players to do something just because one team complained enough to start an investigation, dug deep enough to find Muffin accidentally on another roster, and then ban us on the spot while Ender was actually gone and he didn't have the time to go through a traditional trial process. This, however, has not impacted his stand on the matter. Intentional or not, a rule was broken, and it's a tough decision for him. Luckily, we have come to an agreement that allowed us to use evil players without setting them apart from Wham or purposely benching them. However, Wham would have to take a loss to Triple V because Muffin played in the match when he wasn't allowed to. We instead offered for a rematch because the circumstances affected them as well, and they declined this rematch, and in a statement to us, they said that they would not rematch us until next season. From where we stand, or until shown or told otherwise, a gray area in the rule concerning ringers was used and manipulated against us to prevent us from performing. WAN has not personally or maliciously broken any of the rules provided by Tier 1, and we will stand by that statement as long as we're together. To all the other teams in Tier 1, we thank you for your competition and your sportsmanship. We thought Tier 1 was a place where teams could come and respectfully compete, and it appears as if we were incorrect, for there has been nothing but drama and behind-the-scenes politics since we've been here. For a league that claims to be configured by the teams that inhabit it, it appears as if those that have the will to do so can manipulate the foundation to their advantage. Sometimes for the good of the league, because some teams do cheat, and other times, that is, with this time with us, it could be used to take advantage of the well-intentioned team. To the teams of which we had good relationships with, which is pretty much everybody, we thank you again for your kind-heartedness and competitive spirit, and it was an honor and a pleasure to play with and against you. And although Tier 1 is very professional and well-run, the penal system is a little bit flawed in our eyes. The decision to ban us was made quickly and swiftly with no warning, and we stood no chance. Triple V refused to take our rematch because doing so jeopardized their second-place position in the tournament, and they do not want to lose that spot to Wham, even though we rightfully deserve that spot, having beaten VVV, and the only reason that we do not is our disqualification loss to them. We have no quarrel with Ender. He has been nothing but kind and respectful throughout our entirety here, and we hold him in very high esteem, but we have been deeply frustrated and saddened by everything that's gone on, and I don't know if we're going to be returning to Tier 1, but until we know for sure, we offer everybody the sincerest and gracious GG. So that's the end of the letter. So to recap all of that in a less formal tone, Muffin was one of our very good friends from SB, and we wanted him to play with us. And we had no idea he was as infamous a ringer as he was. And we tried to go through all the steps to get him cleared, and we thought we did, but he played an extra game that he shouldn't have, and that's why we got banned for a little while. I spent hours upon hours talking with administration about getting Wham back into the tournament, and eventually, obviously, we did, but it created a really stressful situation for us. TSL, a team I mentioned earlier, had gone undefeated in their games, and since Wham had a forfeit loss to Triple V, and the only other team that Triple V lost to was TSL, we would have had to win every single game to force a three-way tie. And the tournament was very, very fun. We played a bunch of good teams, and we formed relationships with a lot of them, as I've said a couple times. So it came to a head last night where we had to beat TSL to win, to advance, and unfortunately we couldn't get it done. The first map was very close, the second map not so much, but that's beside the point. Wham is eliminated from the tournament, and that's that. We aren't upset about losing, but we are upset that Triple V is advancing, because at the end of the day, those guys witch hunted us, and it didn't stop until we got suspended. And it's not like it's just with Wham either. They have such low sportsmanship that they try and dig up dirt on every team that beats them. It happened when TSL beat them as well, and we thought when we got let back in that surely they would give us a rematch because they didn't want the easy forfeit win. Well, they want the easy win, and they said it too openly a bunch of times, which I don't really understand. How can you say that you're one of the best teams in the NA bracket when you're not going to rematch a team that you had previously lost to? The reality is that the two best teams in the NA bracket should advance to the World Series, and in this case, the two best teams in the NA bracket were Wham and TSL, but Triple V gets to advance because of a forfeit win. They say because that we quote-unquote cheated, which we didn't knowingly cheat, by the way. Yeah, you dug further into Wham than even I, one of the highest leaders in Wham, know about Wham, and you got us kicked. But they say because we cheated, we don't deserve a rematch, and if that's the case, then I guess we both get things that we don't deserve. You get to move on to the finals and get destroyed by whatever team you face. You don't get better by whining about losses and getting teams kicked. You get better by taking losses like a man. Hell, if not Wham as the 2 seed, I would rather have teams like 6Gs or EN go to the next round because they take their losses with dignity and they try and get better. They don't go looking for ringers and second accounts every time they lose. Wham beat a team called Jedi the other night, who was on that team? A bunch of former PT members who I mentioned earlier in the video, who at the time was one of the best, if not the best team in North America. We went from getting crushed by them to being able to beat some of them. And now I know Jedi isn't an exact replica of PT, but the point is we took our losses and got better. And you take your losses, and I'm talking directly to Triple V right now. You take your losses and continue to cry in the closet. Everything with Tier 1 has been great. The matches, the people, and we love it here, honestly. Apart from VVV. We spanked them so badly that they cried to leadership to look into Muffin, and they unfortunately happened to find something that was enough to get us kicked. And to top it off, they are too scared to rematch because they know they will lose. And I want everyone to know that. Past the nice guy facade that they all have, they are pathetic. They have nice guys. They have good-spirited guys. Mini Fiji is a great person. I respect him a lot. I cast with him almost every weekend. But if you beat Triple V, they will find a way to get you kicked. And it's super convenient that for both Wham and TSL, investigations were launched after we beat Triple V. One team shouldn't have a power like that, and if I'm being a little harsh and upfront, that's because it genuinely pisses me off, and you may be able to mute me on Discord when trying to talk about it, but you can't mute me here. Again, as it was said earlier in the letter, we have no quarrel with Ender, we have no quarrel with Tier 1 or anybody else. We love and respect all of you, and thank you for letting us participate. But Triple V, you can go fuck yourselves.